Okay, good afternoon. If I could get a quick mic check, that would be awesome. Thanks, Reed. If you guys can just let me know if it cracks up or whatever. So a quick review of my morning. I didn't get any momentums, I don't think. No, I didn't. Almost did, but there were a number of momentums that were possible, just nothing got set up properly, and they were pretty junky stocks, so when we get in that scenario, it kind of bothers me. Oil, so I did take a trade in oil related to UWT, went long at, wasn't it 1163? Anywhere somewhere in there. Got a pop and then came back down almost to my buy. So I'm watching close here. It is possible that it'll come off a fair bit. I'm actually possibly expecting in terms of UWT right down in there as possible. So we'll see. So that's my entry. I wouldn't give it much more than that. Yeah, not much more than that. It's hard to calculate exactly where it relates on the oil chart, but XIV. So this is inverse volatility. Now this was a little bit of a risky play too. So if you've seen what I did right before my trade, I brought up the VIX to see if I had any room to the downside, and of course I have very little. And that's not the best way to take a trade with, lower risk reward on your side, but the way the market was setting up, I thought, VIX might get pushed right down in here. And so it did. It got pushed down to 9.8. The S&P got a little lift. And that all happened right after I entered. One of the traders I was talking to over the lunch break was asking me, how do you seem to always get lift right after you enter? That happened in my oil trade last night too. He was watching that, and that just comes with time and with the setups and just understanding the way the different instruments work. You just have to know your inflection points, but you learn them over time. XIV VIX SPY play, I've done thousands of times, and it's not like it used to be during QE, but it's still there. It's just nothing like it used to be. You need volatility for this to really work. UWT is a 3 times long crude ETN. ETN's an algorithmic derivative packaged up, and the idea is short term, right? So I didn't trade CL or oil. I traded the 3 times long ETN because I was thinking, well, I'll get a better bang for my buck, but actually I would have done better with CL. But we'll see how this all plays out here. Okay, so those are those, and then recently, so I'm out of SRNE. I think I'm underwater a little bit with Netflix. Took a trade yesterday. Yeah, I'm underwater. I'm still in it. I'm holding. So we'll see. I've got a couple swings lately. I'm not used to being underwater on trades. The market's a little funky lately, not exactly friendly to my kind of trading. Yeah. But, as long as you have the patience and you take the A+ or better trades, then you'll be fine. Netflix, just in case there's anybody on the same page as me with it, I'll just show you really quick. So this 100-day is my support, and MACD is kind of crossed up. Stock CARA size trending up. Squeeze momentum started to trend up, and so I'm hoping it holds that 100-day. That's basically my test area. If it doesn't, that would be one of my that would be, not that it's a big entry, but it would be one of my bigger losses this year. I haven't had many losses this year. So that day trade yesterday was one of my bigger losses, and that was, I think, around 600 bucks, so it's not much. So I don't lose much when I lose. This would be, nothing. Might be in the same range, 600 bucks if I lost on it. Yeah, so that's Netflix. And any other recent activity, I think that's my most recent stuff. So nothing spectacular at this point. Happened on the day so far. Let's take a look at these plays and see if we can pull something out of them. So MBRX was watching for over $2. Didn't get there. By the way, when I was having that conversation with the trader over lunch, there was two main questions. One is how I tend to catch those inflections. And you want to catch those inflections, of course, because you want the room to have a stop so you don't take 1,000 paper cuts. Now, of course, on breakouts, that's very difficult. But on setups, on nice setups, that is very possible, where you can 9 out of 10 times get a real nice pop, like when I entered oil today, or XIV. I didn't get the pop on Netflix, but that was a different kind of setup. I wasn't worried about that. Anyway, the nice thing about that is that then you don't die of 1,000 cuts. And then the other question was, well, where do your main returns come from? My main returns come from catching, catching something like this, for example, daily chart. And if it gets up over the 200 and it's resistance, and it proves out in the bowl, that's where I'll get the, because you'll get 5 or 6 legs up, and each one you hammer down. Lately, I haven't, because it's harder for me to focus. Really studied focus study, because I've got so much on the go. Time it'd be a lot different. Like I would focus right in. It's up over the 200, the play that we've been working on for a long time. One of the setups I would focus on, and I'd know every stock, whether or not they're getting near it or not. And it's just like, it's just like shooting fish in a barrel. After that, it's just as they set up, boom, the alarm goes off. But anyway, MBRX, it has to get over that resistance. We marked it, that purple line there. It's testing the 200-day. It's not quite there yet. CBI, way under its MAs. So this is a bottom play. I suspect it has something to do with Trump, the Chicago Bridge and Iron, but I could be wrong. I don't know anything about it. It's just doesn't meet any of my requirements. As a bottom play maybe, but I'm not in that mindset right now. PetroQuest Energy, probably just getting a pop with the fact that oil is starting to come along under the 200, under its MAs. SBBP, so here's an example here. This is the play. Now there isn't a history here, unfortunately, but the play is for the 200 to come swooping down, and for it to get over the 200, and here it failed. Tested the 20, took off over the 200 again, and at the point that the 20 gets over, that's really important, at the point that the 20 gets over the 200, and most times it'll test right back into the 200 area, that's the time to hit it. So you hit it there. Now unfortunately here, you may have or may not have closed, but if you've got a MA right underneath that 200, you may as well sit through it, but that's up to you. But anyway, so but now it's gone. So I don't know if it's got news, if that's why, or if it was just simply the chart setup that eventually did it. Now CARA we were looking at earlier, and that play happened, and it's come out of the bowl and it's in breakout now. And I was explaining to the trader that's in it to be very careful at that breakout. I mean, that breakout can be fantastic because major squeeze can happen on the other side of the bowl. So this one is literally testing its bowl right now. And you can kind of, call it a series of tests to the bowl, but eventually it gets to the end and it breaks out, it breaks down, or it forms a cup and handle of sorts. So that's SBBP. So, how would I play this if I was going to play it? I'd wait for it to come back and test the 20. And if it bounces off the 20, I'd take another long. If it doesn't, wait for the 50. Same thing. If it bounces, take the long. Wait for the 100. If it bounces, take the long. Or the 200. If it bounces, take the long. If it fails the 200 after being in the bowl like this, just shut it down and don't even look at it. Don't go back to it. So that's SBBP. ZN. So we did this one. Oh, I traded this one. Day traded this one for a win, a good win. Like this one was like a $4,000 or $5,000 win. I'm getting old, so that could be confused, but I'm pretty sure it was a good win. A couple of weeks ago, maybe. Right, so this is the one that's got the horns. I'm not sure where we traded it. I think it was in here. Well, a couple of weeks ago, we'd bring it down in here. But I obviously wasn't paying attention if it was a few weeks ago, because a few weeks ago it would have been back testing this 200 in the bowl. And that's your entry. Like, see what happens when it comes out of that. So it comes up through the 200, comes back to the 200, kaboom. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 days later, boom. It just picks up momentum. The shorts just get, more and more panicked. Bulls get more and more bullish, and boom, that's what happens. I'm just looking at the other side of the bowl here to see how predictable this would have been. Yeah, see, here it is. So you're going to see a series of them, right? Of your previous highs. But once it got over that highest high, previous high, it was gone. But it built up momentum at each one on the other side of the bowl. So now, not a good time to enter. You could, but it's better to wait for it to come back down, test your MA, see if you get the bounce, and then take it. And you can hold it tight, because if you do it right, when you have velocity of trade, MACD's up, squeezes up, everything's up, and you hit it, you'll get enough that you can hold through any possible downdraft. So that's ZN. ASNA up 13.59% on the day. There's dries. 13.59%, $2.22. Yeah, thanks, Reed. Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good one. It's been tough to find the real good ones lately that you can really scale into. Like even on those, like how I'm saying on the swings or, that setup where you get through the 200 and into the bowl, and you should get 5 legs out of it at least. That setup, that's still been consistent, just less stocks, and I haven't had time to, really focus in on them like I was saying. But that same principle works in momentum trades. Different, but the principle's the same. And you should be able to get 5 legs out of a real strong momentum. And I'm talking intraday, 5 legs of 5-minute candles. We haven't seen much of that. So it's the follow through. QE, like the whole market mechanism, everything's shifted. It's really like since the election. I had the election pegged right. I was screaming from the rooftops who would win. I had Brexit pegged right. Did really well there. And I had what the market looks like pegged right. And you know, you just go on Twitter and you type in my not hashtag, but my, what do you call it? Anyway, my tag at Kurt Milanopoly, and then just put a keyword like Trump or, you know, whatever, Brexit or whatever. You can see if I, you know, if I'm giving you the straight goods, but I knew what was going on. I knew what was coming. I mean, nobody knows for sure, but here's a good bottom play. It's pretty clean. Like that's a fairly clean chart. Like it descended nice and clean. That's the kind of thing you're looking for too, right? Your basic symmetry, whether it respects a 200 on both sides, right? This looks like it could be a bottom, but you got to work your symmetry. Like this that's happening right now looks a lot like this. So, you know, symmetry or Sesame Street, call it one or the other. What doesn't look like the other? So yeah. Anyway, about those inflections in the markets and getting those right. Going back to my story, that's where the profit comes from. The main profit, right? You can grind out profit with what I'm showing you, and you can even grind out fairly good profit. You know, 20 to 50% a quarter. 50% a quarter kind of thing, just grinding out. And that's nothing to sneeze at, but the real money is in the inflections. So this is pretty interesting. You know, if it gets, oh, it's over, it's 20, see? MACD's up. Squeeze momentum is coming. Stock RSI. So this is the kind of play that, you know, if you're a bottom player, I would really look at it and consider it. You could get your fib set up and see where your support and resistance is. By the way, that master class that I was going to do for technicals, we're working on the timing right now. Got just a ton of conference calls coming up and stuff. So I've got to schedule properly. ASNA. So that's kind of neat. I'm not gonna keep it, but I'll tell you right now, I have a gut feeling about this one. Okay. Yeah, Brexit was fun because I hammered the bottom of that. It's just perfect. Perfect. I had a blaster in that one. Could have hammered, and to be honest, I was too hammered to trade. Well, I wasn't hammered, but I was enjoying my night, and I was out and about in Panama, and should have hit that one. But almost every other inflection I've got. We had one late, what was it, August the year before, and then the January after that. That's December 2015, 2016, that December, January, when the market sold off, hammered through that. Okay, so AUO. Anyway, I mentioned all that because this trader was, you know, asking me wide vision, because yesterday I was mentioning, you know, it's good to have some perspective, right? Like it's one thing to want things right now. Like I have guys bugging me all the time. Why don't you trade more? Why don't you trade more? Why, you know? It's like, my good Lord, like I trade a lot. You consider all the different kinds of trades I do. Like I overtrade for sure, based on how much time I have to actually focus, study. So AUO. Oh, and why I'm saying overtrade is because you want to get into the play and you want to get into five legs deep, right? Because that's where the money is. Just choppy, you know, in and out of stuff doesn't do you a lot of good. You want to go 5 legs deep. So you want to find plays on time. This one doesn't respect its 200, so I don't even look at those. It's a bye-bye as soon as I see that. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It can be the best stock. They'll bite you. Unless it's oil. Oil doesn't respect the 200, but that's because we trade it with a different model. So oil's in a funny place because it's got a test to the above and a test to the below. They're both not far away, and it's into a triangle. So it's gonna, when it pops, boy, it's really gonna pop either up or down. So this is interesting. So this is into the gap, FCSC. So when you're playing these, you do want to look for that gap. I should do a detailed video on the technicals for your bottom plays. And it does have the 200. See, there it is again. Gets up through the 200, goes back. It failed the 200 a little bit, but it did actually regain its fibs and then gone. So over and over again, we're seeing it. Now it's too far. You wouldn't want to take it now. You'd want to take it, watch it test each fib all the way down until it bounces. So they're out there. It's like being out fishing and seeing the people in the boat across the way catching the fish. I've done a lot of fishing in my life, and I just hate that when everybody around you is catching fish. And you're like, what is wrong? You see them on the Jeep, or on the fish finder below the boat. Yep. CIE. So when oil gets going, CIE is a good one to look at. You know, I have never looked at the fundamentals of this company, but I've traded it for a long time. But you can see by the chart that, you know, it's not a bag you want to carry around for long. Anyway, it's just, I mean, it's not going to get there. It's a day trade, you know. Yeah, it's a day trade. That's in the same category as dries, and like in terms of the type of trade, the mechanics of the trade. Dries is a little bit different because dries can squeeze so hard, but that was an epic squeeze dries had about 6 months ago there. I didn't get that one, but I got LEU about a year and a half ago. That was incredible, and so was around the same time Kelly's deal. I got that one, grand style. MYO. I'm starting to sound like one of those old traders that just tells short bite stories all day. MYO. Yeah, so the pumpers pumped it. No volume, of course. Most of these are garbage. SRDX, $28 stock. Sermotics, I never traded it. So oil's coming off right now. It's getting, it's about halfway to its support, between its resistance and support. Okay, this must have news. Well, mind you, like right at the 200, 20 comes up, it squeezes in there, and boom. I mean, wouldn't that be neat if they had news at the same time? Now, when the 200's coming up instead of swooshing down, it's not as predictable, just so you know. Not as probable to get as much lift either. No volume. What happened here? Investor conference coming up, but that was in May. Yeah, so just, it's another, oh my good Lord. It's another MO, ADMO, ADMA, sorry. And this is, this is telling too, right? When you go through these and they're just junk stocks. Like yesterday, they were all junk. Most. When the market is structurally good and sound, and you'll find the stocks are much better stocks. This process kind of tells you where the market is every day too. Gives you a little bit of insight anyway. Not my cup of tea, but it is trading through those fibs between, to the 200. The problem is it keeps trying to get up over the 200 and doesn't, fails. It's just no good. Trade's really junky. HNH. Handy environment. I should be careful when I say it's a crappy stock or crappy company. I'm talking about the way it trades, right? I should be more technical and official. Get into my stock language thesaurus tonight. Now, isn't that awful? Look at the way that trades the 200. Awful. What would you do with that? Hopium. A whole lot of hopium. Mind you, there's all kinds of setups in the marketplace, and different people are good at different setups. SB. Just about got a gap filled on here. And be careful, this is a bulker. Not my thing. But it did get the 200 and it did play through, right? See, it originally got the 200. See what I mean by the retest on the 200? It even tested again on the 200 and then it left. And now it's filling the gap. And if it comes out of the bowl, I mean, if you're watching it close, you could try and catch it. CIE we already looked at. Y10. Why am I familiar with Y10? Right, I've traded this. And these are tough. Like where they spike for a day or two. Tough, tough, tough trading, boy. So here's one that got into the bowl or into its 200. And I would expect that this is the other side of the bowl here. I'd have to look left, but this is the spike after. So now it's becoming what you call a trending stock. So it came out of the bowl and it's proven and it's stayed true. And yeah, see, here's your bowl right here. See how it popped? You can tell a lot from a chart. Like, you don't need the whole picture. And it's funny how Sesame Street it really is. BAS. But the actual charting, after you get into your entry and you're into your legs, that's what I want to do that masterclass on. So that, and it takes time, right? Like we were doing a schedule thinking it's going to be 8 hours, but we're going to do, we're going to break it up into categories. People can sit in on the ones that they want to sit in on. BAS, basic energy. Man, be careful. Didn't this go bankrupt, this company? I think they're in bankruptcy right now. SXC, another energy company. That's an interesting chart considering. So I don't know what these guys do, but I got the 200. But it doesn't respect it well at all. CARA, so here's the one. Yay. So Tracy's got a wiener here. I was going to say a wiener. But you know, that's what I say to myself when I win. So this is classic, right? 200 comes swooping down, gets up over the 200, retests the 200, and goes. Comes back, tests the 20 and the 50, goes. Comes back, tests the 20, falls shy of it, goes. Tests the 50, goes. Tests the 100, screws around, goes. Why did it screw around there? Well, and you know what? A lot of people will call this a cup and handle. So I'm working you through the same kind of setup, right? But you can see it, just look left, right? I don't know if you see the symmetry there, but you just think Sesame Street. And then boom, when it comes out of it. So when it comes out of the mirror of the other side, kaboom, either boom up or boom down. Sorry. And once again, congrats to Tracy. Sino. So here's another shipper. Now Sino trades different than the other shippers. It's got a really interesting trending chart. It's almost like an extended bull flag. But anyway, actually what I see is I see a sail on a catamaran. Guess where my head is. Yeah, so Sino, I'd be careful. So did we get any off that list? We did. I think that's the first day we haven't got anything. We didn't get anything. The only one that's decent is CARA. But it's so far into it now. Where did CARA go? CARA just dropped a few points. It must have. Oh, nice. Way to go, Trace. So you know how to re-enter then, right? On your MAs. Wait for each one, you know, when it gets to 20, wait for it to test. It wasn't real clean when it was testing those MAs, but I mean, it worked. Yeah, I don't think we got one out of that list. That's really interesting. Well, we have some time. I don't think anybody's shot any charts into the, and if you have and I've missed it, just reshoot it in there. I'm going to look through what we've been doing recently quick. And if somebody gets something in there, I'll take a look at it. So this has come off heavy with oil. I'm biased to the upside of oil and the S&P. But you know, during these inflections, you can get cut up, and that's why I don't like to trade much. A++ trades. So the rule of thumb, I'm breaking a rule right now. The rule of thumb is when you're not really in your comfort zone, then you keep it tight. And sure enough, you know, when I was up here, I was going to cut and take my small win. I was going to do that in oil too. I didn't, but I'll let it play out. Oil closes at 230, and I'd expect to see a pop at 230. WPRT. Let's do it, Reed. That was a good little trading plan you sent me last night. You should definitely be guest blogging. I sent everybody a notice. We'd like to see some guest blogging going. Why do I try and get you to share your trades, and why am I trying to push some people into guest blogging? Because, sorry, that was a DM. No, not from today, last night. Because I know it helps you. It helps me too. It helps the team, but it helps you. It's a reciprocating thing. You'll see once you start doing it. WPRT. So we got the swoop. It respects the 200. Now, does it respect the 200 when it gets up? We don't know yet. it didn't get back to the 200, it tested the 20 after it got up. So when it does this, you got to be careful because it can take off on you, like this one is. So it gets up over the 200, and boom, right there, the 20, rides the 20 all the way up. Now the 100's about to go through the 200. Now remember that typically the last breach is the weakest. Typically, not always, but typically. MACD's trending up, stock RSI is good, volume's decent. You know, would I take a long here? No, I'd wait for the retest of the 20, 50, 100, 200, you know, and see where you get the bounce, because it will bounce. Where's the end of its bowl? There really isn't an end on this one. There is a fill though, a nice fill. 1306. Wow. It's a huge fill. Actually, it's closer to 12. And then there's another one there at 1017. So if you were gonna, so this would qualify for a small account if you time it right. So small accounts, what you can do is, you know, you get your support and resistance all set up. You're gonna find, I'm just doing some key resistance areas. You kind of, you know, make sure you do your own homework. There's something funky about this charting and the mouse. That's not me snoring. There's a few of them on the way up, so you'll see some. If you get Momo up, you will see some turbulence. It won't be super easy, but none of them are, because they all have their history. So you know, it's something like that. Those aren't dead on, and I'm sure they're close to the fibs too. MACD has been dead for a while, but that's kind of standard in a stock that gets that sold out, oversold. It's a decent setup. You just got to make sure you play it right. You know, you can take the best trader and the worst setups, and you know, they'll come out okay. Wow. It's too bad this charting's doing that. A lot of traders left trading view because of these little idiosyncrasies. A lot of this other charting that's available out there is much faster, more efficient to share, and that kind of stuff, but you can't do what I need to do with that other stuff. Those purple lines aren't really close, horizontal resistance and support. Kind of thought they would sit right in there with it. But anyway, I could spend some time with it, but this is probably going to be more, you know, like if you were to chart this properly, it would be more like this here. And you just have to clone that. But anyway, yeah. So that MACD is coming up though on the daily. So what I would personally do is I'd try and exercise the patience to wait for that 20 for these MA tests. But that 100's about to pop the 200. It might get above this resistance, so it's a tough one. It's tough to make that decision. But that's one you'll have to make. But I would wait. I would seriously wait for it to come back. Test those MAs and see when you get the pop. That's what I would do. Is you'll get them. It'll happen. It just won't leave town and not come back. Very, very few do that. That's been big news. But it's the right setup. So gold is up a bit. Crude oil is just about to its support area. It's been coming off consistent here. VRX. What has it done today? So now VRX here, here's the opportunity. Here's the opportunity to get on top of it and stay on top of it until it retests either the 200, the 150, or the 20 above the 200. You're just looking for that pop, whichever one causes it to follow through with a pop. So now, unfortunately, your MAs are so far underneath that 200, this is going to take some time to play out. But I would take my advice if you're looking for setups and put this one on your radar, because, well, that 50 is going to breach that 100 right away. Like every time you get the crossover, especially through the 200, you should get a pop. So you could scalp it, on each pop, and then when it's into the bowl farther, and tests, because the 20 will be up there, right? And it tests that 20, so it'll be somewhere around here. So you got to follow it a month and a half. But it's a sweet setup. Our WLK came off today. S&P, SPWR, CLLS, IMDZ. See, IMDZ is another one that you could wait for it to come back. I mean, it trades technically perfect, right? So those kind of trades, if you're keeping a watch list, I got to tell you, you want this one on it. You want to check it regularly because it traded almost technically perfect. Not quite perfect, but before they get up over the 200, it's kind of to be expected that they're not going to trade it perfect. So ABEO is right at resistance right now. It's got its 200. It's just that the swoop is on the other side. It's going up instead of down, but it's not a bad setup. It's not great. HIIQ, when I looked this morning, it was at my entry or just above it. VRX is looking much adorable, maybe. So this is HIIQ. I think my entry was 2390 if I remember right. So this one I was prepared for some pullback. I was basically prepared for 2199 and even 2093, 2086 in this range here. But I do have a target for it up top there. So it's off a bit. Oops, we went down back. So I know a lot of the ones that we've been looking at lately are set up. BDSI. Yeah, so this is the horns. Don't mess with the bull, you might get the horns. So it's in breakout, breakout. Now let's look at it real quick. So here's an example. It got up through the 200, it popped, came back, and you see how the 20 came through, met the 20, and bounced. Now it's going to do that 5 or 6 times before it gets up out of the bowl. Where's its bowl termination? Man, this is a funky one. So it's just got a series of them from these previous highs, but its real spike is going to be up in there. But that's a 5 timeser at that point. I have no idea where this is going to go, but it is set up. So its trigger would be when it comes back and tests one of those MAs. Star, BMI, solar. Yeah, so that's about it for today. Unless somebody has any other they want to look at. But yeah, there's no good, I think that's the first time that's happened to us with no decent setups. We looked at CADC. Let's look real quick to make sure. Whoops. Yeah, not the best setups today, but oh well. That's going to happen once in a while. Once in a while, it's fine. So oil's hovering around support there. CADC, I believe is what it was called. Yeah, CARA's back on the board. WG, what's that? Oh, Will Brothers. So that's because of the oil pop, Will Brothers. I know that business well. Oh, yeah, China Advanced. Okay, well, unfortunately, we didn't get a bunch of setups from that session, but at least we went through them, and that's part of the game. And yeah, congrats, guys. Actually, there's been a lot of winning here lately. I'm probably struggling more than the members with some of my plays. So this afternoon, my bias is towards a pop in oil and a pop on the S&P and popping me out of those little trades. And yeah, and that's it. So we'll see you soon back in the room, hopefully for a Momo play.